The stars shimmered cold and distant outside the observation deck of the Eidolon. Captain Kale, a seasoned xenoarchaeologist of the Veldran species, leaned against the railing, his 4 elongated fingers drumming a soft rhythm. His species, known for their empathetic connection to the past, often found themselves piecing together the mysteries of civilizations long gone. But this expedition was different. This was about humanity. "Captain, we've reached Earth's orbit," the ship's AI intoned, its voice a smooth baritone that echoed through the quiet vessel. Kale straightened and gazed out at the blue-green sphere below, or rather, what remained of it. Earth, once the crown jewel of human achievement, now hung silent and desolate, its surface scarred by time and neglect. For centuries, the Galactic Union had pondered humanity's fate. They were a species that had burned brightly across the cosmos. Fearless explorers, innovators, and, at times, conquerors. Then, without warning, they vanished. The Eidolon had been dispatched to investigate a recent anomaly. An energy surge originating from a derelict space station orbiting Earth had caught the Union's attention. Many dismissed it as a relic of no consequence, but Kale knew better. Humanity never acted without purpose, he murmured. The docking procedure was smooth, but the station's interior was anything but welcoming. Dark corridors stretched ahead, illuminated only by Kale's wrist beacon. Dust floated in the air, disturbed by their entry, and the faint hum of dormant machinery echoed like the ghost of a forgotten age. "Life support is stable but minimal," Kale noted, adjusting his respirator. "This place hasn't seen activity in centuries." As they delved deeper, Kale's empathic senses tingled. The station was not dead. It was waiting. Finally, they reached the core. A vast chamber dominated by a spherical terminal surrounded by dormant holographic projectors. The energy signature pulsed faintly here, like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. "Activate the interface," Kale ordered. A surge of light illuminated the chamber as the terminal sprang to life. Holograms flickered, disjointed images of human history flashing briefly before stabilizing. Then, a voice not heard in millennia, spoke. "Unit AI 75 operational. Identity verification required." Kale's hearts raced. An active AI from humanity's prime was a discovery beyond imagination. "I am Captain Kale of the Veldran species, representing the Galactic Union. We seek to understand the fate of humanity." The AI hesitated, its tone laden with weariness. "Humanity departed long ago. I remain as a custodian, but my primary functions have degraded." "What do you wish to know?" "Why did they leave?" Kale asked. "What compelled an entire species to abandon their home?" The holograms shifted, revealing fragmented data. Images of Earth's thriving cities, bustling spaceports, and starships leaping into the unknown. Then, a stark contrast. Deserted streets, empty chairs, and fading transmissions. Humanity's decline was not due to war or disaster. It was a choice. Humanity evolved rapidly, AI 75 explained. They reached technological and philosophical pinnacles. Faced with their own limitations, they sought a path beyond physical existence. The project was called the Great Migration. Kale's breath caught. He had heard rumors of species attempting transcendence, but none had succeeded. They left willingly, all of them, unanimously, the AI confirmed. They unified under a single purpose, to transcend their corporeal forms and explore dimensions beyond your comprehension. It was their ultimate endeavor, their final act as humanity. Kale stared at the shifting holograms, overwhelmed by the weight of this revelation. A species so vibrant, so tenacious, had willingly stepped into the unknown. But why leave no trace? Why sever all ties to the galaxy? Was it successful? Kale asked. The AI's light dimmed momentarily. The outcome remains uncertain. I was left to maintain the station and relay their final message, should anyone come seeking answers. And what is that message? Kale's voice was barely above a whisper. The hologram stabilized, forming a singular image. A human hand, outstretched toward the stars. Beneath it, words appeared in dozens of languages, their meaning clear. To those who follow, we did not abandon the stars, we became them. Kale stood in silence, the magnitude of their choice settling over him like a shroud. Humanity had not died. They had ascended. But in doing so, they had left a void, a silence that the galaxy felt keenly. The AI's voice broke the stillness. Captain, will you continue their legacy or turn back? The answers lie on Earth below. Kale's resolve hardened. We'll find the truth, he said. Humanity's story isn't over. Not yet. As the Eidolon prepared to descend, Kale gazed once more at the fragile world below. The silence was deafening, but within it, he heard the echoes of a species that dared to defy the boundaries of existence. And he was determined to uncover their final chapter. The Eidolon touched down on the outskirts of what was once New York City, a sprawling metropolis reduced to skeletal remains cloaked in vines and overgrowth. Nature had reclaimed the land, but humanity's mark lingered, towers reaching skyward, their steel frames defying the passage of time. Captain Kale stepped out onto the cracked pavement, his boots crunching against shattered glass and fragments of history. Life persists even in humanity's absence, Kale observed, his voice tinged with reverence. His companion, Sellers, a historian from the Galactic Union, adjusted her scanner, the device humming faintly as it analyzed the ruins. Persistence is one thing, Sellers replied, her tone skeptical. But abandonment? A species with so much potential, gone without explanation. It defies logic. Kale glanced at her but said nothing. Instead, he focused on the faint guidance from Unit AI 75, transmitted via his wrist communicator. The central archives are below, the AI instructed. A preservation facility lies intact beneath the ruins. Humanity ensured their legacy would not be lost, even if they themselves transcended. The team descended into the depths of the city, their path illuminated by flickering emergency lights still powered by ancient generators. As they moved, the walls told fragmented stories, faded murals of human achievements, graffiti marking the final days, and holographic displays frozen mid-broadcast. Kale's empathic senses buzzed with echoes of fear, hope, and determination. In the archives, the air was cool and sterile. Rows of crystalline databanks shimmered in the dim light, their contents preserved perfectly. Kale activated one, and a holographic projection burst to life. A woman in a formal suit, her expression solemn. This is Counselor Elena Armitage, addressing all of humanity. The recording began. Our time in this form is ending. We have reached the precipice of understanding and must take the next step. The Great Migration is not an end but a transformation. We leave behind the physical to embrace the infinite. The projection faded, replaced by images of humanity's final days on Earth. Massive facilities channeling energy into unknown devices, families embracing as their forms dissolved into light, and cities falling silent. They weren't just preparing. They were celebrating, Kale murmured, awestruck. Celebrating? Sellers snapped. This looks like mass delusion. They abandoned a galaxy that still needed them. Kale turned to her, his voice calm but firm. They believed they were contributing to something greater. Humanity's ambition was their defining trait. They saw limits and refused to accept them. As they explored further, Kale discovered a personal journal preserved within the databanks. Its author, an engineer named Arjun Patel, described the emotional weight of the decision. The exhilaration of stepping into the unknown, the sorrow of leaving behind a physical legacy, and the hope that their actions would inspire others. Sellers read the journal over Kale's shoulder, her skepticism softening. They weren't running away, she admitted. They were chasing something we can't even comprehend. Kale nodded, his resolve growing. And perhaps they succeeded. But their silence holds meaning. We must find out why they chose it. As they emerged from the archives, Kale looked back at the ruins, now more alive in his mind than ever. Humanity had fractured their memories across the world, leaving a puzzle for those who followed. He was determined to piece it together. The Himalayan bunker stood as a stark contrast to the natural beauty surrounding it. Encased in blackened steel and buried beneath centuries of ice and rock, it loomed like a relic from a forgotten war. Kale, Sellers and Unit AI-75 approached the entrance, their breath visible in the frigid air. The journey had been grueling, but the promise of answers had kept them moving. The final records are inside, AI-75 said, its tone tinged with a mechanical certainty. This facility was humanity's last stronghold before their departure. Sellers glanced at Kale, her skepticism tempered by the discoveries they had already made. Do you think they left something here for us? Or were they only concerned with their own legacy? Kale didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed his hand on the rusted panel by the entrance. The AI transmitted an ancient override code, and with a groan of protesting metal, the massive doors slid open, revealing a corridor bathed in dim, flickering light. The bunker was a labyrinth of long-abandoned technology. Screens lined the walls, frozen in time, displaying maps of Earth, star charts, and schematics of devices that defied understanding. Kale felt a faint echo of humanity's presence here, a deep undercurrent of determination and melancholy. This way, AI-75 guided, leading them to a central chamber. The room was vast and circular, its walls adorned with holographic projectors. At the center stood a pedestal holding a crystalline device, glowing faintly with an otherworldly light. As Kale and Sellers stepped closer, the projectors activated, filling the chamber with ghostly figures. One by one, the holograms resolved into humanity's leaders, scientists, philosophers, and visionaries. Each spoke in turn, their words preserved for millennia. We stand at the threshold of transformation. A woman with sharp eyes and silver hair began. The Great Migration is not an escape but an evolution. Our essence will traverse dimensions, our consciousness freed from the constraints of matter. Another voice followed, that of a man with a warm, commanding presence. To those who find this place, know that humanity did not abandon you. We sought to illuminate the path forward, to show that limits are meant to be shattered. Sellers stood frozen, her gaze fixed on the flickering figures. They truly believed this was the right path, she murmured. They weren't just leaving, they were inviting others to follow. Kale stepped forward, activating the crystalline device. It emitted a pulse of energy, filling the room with a cascade of light. The holograms merged into a single figure, a final message. We achieved what we sought, the voice said, its tone resonating with triumph and warning. But the infinite is vast and unyielding. To join us, one must tread carefully. Not all who step into the void return whole. The message ended, leaving Kale and Sellers in silence. They succeeded, Kale finally said, his voice heavy with awe. But at what cost? Did they leave us a blueprint or a warning? Sellers looked to the crystalline device. Perhaps both. As they exited the chamber, Kale felt the weight of humanity's choice pressing on him. Their echoes lingered, not just in the bunker but in the stars themselves. He knew their story was far from over. The crystalline device hummed softly in the quiet of the Eidolon's command deck. The team had returned from the Himalayan bunker with humanity's final artifact, unsure of its purpose but certain of its significance. Kale stood before it, his expression unreadable as he traced the glowing lines etched into its surface. Sellers watched from a distance, her earlier skepticism now replaced with a quiet reverence. Do you think they're still out there? She asked, breaking the silence. Kale didn't look up. I don't know. But if this device is what I think it is, we might find out. Unit AI-75, now integrated into the Eidolon systems, chimed in. The crystalline matrix contains an encoded transmission beacon. It's designed to send a message beyond conventional spacetime. I believe it was humanity's way of calling home, or reaching out to those they left behind. Kale nodded. Let's activate it. Sellers hesitated. What if they respond? What if they don't? That's a risk we have to take, Kale said. If we've come this far, we owe it to them and to ourselves to try. With a deep breath, Kale placed his hand on the device. The hum grew louder, resonating through the ship as light cascaded from the crystal's core. Patterns of energy danced across the walls, forming intricate symbols and shapes that seemed to defy logic. The signal is transmitting, AI-75 reported. But this is unlike any communication I've ever encountered. The data is multidimensional, encoded in ways even I struggle to interpret. Kale and Sellers waited, the minutes stretching into hours. The hum of the device faded into silence, leaving only the soft beeping of the ship's systems. Sellers leaned against a console, her earlier excitement dimmed by the oppressive weight of anticipation. "Maybe we were wrong," she said quietly. "Maybe they're gone, and all we're chasing are shadows." Before Kale could respond, a faint vibration rippled through the ship. The lights dimmed momentarily, and a new sound emerged. An ethereal melody, soft yet immense, like the voice of the cosmos itself. "Captain," AI-75 said, its tone laced with awe, "we're receiving a response." The crystalline device flared to life, projecting a swirling mass of light and sound into the air. The patterns shifted, forming an image of a starry void, then dissolving into countless glowing points. A single voice emerged, layered and resonant, speaking in a language that transcended words. "We see you," it said. "We remember." Kale's breath caught. "Humanity?" The voice continued, its tone both familiar and alien. "We have moved beyond, but we remain. Our journey is unending, our essence now woven into the fabric of existence. To those who seek us, tread with care. The infinite is vast, and not all who enter emerge unchanged." The projection flickered, then solidified into an image of Earth as seen from space. Beneath it, a final message appeared. "The stars are yours now. Seek, learn, and grow, but never forget." As the light faded, Kale stood motionless, the enormity of the moment pressing down on him. Sellers stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "They answered." "They did," Kale said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "And they've entrusted us with their legacy." The Eidolon turned away from Earth, its engines humming as it ascended into the void. Humanity's echoes lingered, guiding them forward. The galaxy would know their story, not as a tale of loss, but of hope, ambition, and the unyielding drive to transcend. Kale gazed at the stars, his resolve unshaken. Humanity was not gone. They had become something greater, something eternal. And their journey had only just begun.